What if I told you that in the summer of 1518, hundreds of people in a French city began dancing in the streets and they couldn't stop? Not for food, not for rest, not even when their bodies gave out. By the time it was over, some were dead, many were injured, and the city was left with one of the strangest mysteries in history. Our story begins in Strasbourg, then part of the Holy Roman Empire. It was a sweltering July, the kind where the heat clings to every stone wall and the air feels thick enough to drink. The city was tense. Grain harvests had been poor, food prices were high, disease was an ever-present threat, and religion shaped every part of life. Superstition and science blurred into one, and unexplained events were often seen as divine signs or punishments. Into this climate of stress and uncertainty stepped one woman, and she began to dance. Her name was Frau Trophea. One morning, without music, without warning, she stepped into the narrow streets and began moving. Her arms waved, her feet stamped on the cobblestones, and her face showed no sign of joy, only strange, fixed determination. At first, neighbours assumed she was performing a strange ritual or perhaps mocking someone. But hours passed, then the sun began to set, and still she danced. By the end of the day, she was drenched in sweat and visibly exhausted, yet she could not stop. In the days that followed, others began to join her. Some claimed they were drawn into the movement, unable to resist. Within a week, dozens were dancing alongside her, swaying, leaping, and spinning through the streets. Some moved with wild, jerking motions, others strange, repetitive steps, but all seemed trapped in the same trance-like state. The crowds grew. Witnesses claimed up to 400 people were caught up in the frenzy, spilling into marketplaces, churchyards, and alleyways. Musicians sometimes gathered to play for them, thinking they were part of some festival. But this was no celebration, it was suffering. The city's leaders were baffled. Strasbourg's council called an emergency meeting to decide how to stop what was quickly being called the dancing plague. Their solution? They believed their only cure was to let the afflicted dance it out until the madness left them. They opened guild halls, cleared marketplaces, and even paid musicians to provide a steady beat. Their logic was simple: if it had to run its course, better to do it in an open space with rhythm. It was a disaster. The music only encouraged more people to join. The movement spread faster, and the death toll rose as heart attacks and strokes claimed the weakest dancers. After several weeks, the plague began to fade. Frau Troffer herself had been taken to a shrine dedicated to Saint Vitus, the patron saint of dancers, in the hope that divine intervention might stop her movements. By late August, the streets had finally fallen silent. Those who survived were left with injuries that took weeks to heal. Some spoke of visions and hallucinations during the dancing. Others claimed to remember nothing at all. So, what caused the dancing plague? Historians and scientists have put forward several theories. One points to ergot poisoning, a toxic fungus that grows on damp rye and can cause hallucinations, convulsions, and muscle spasms. It's the same substance from which LSD is derived, and it can cause mass outbreaks if an entire community's bread supply is contaminated. Another theory is mass psychogenic illness, a collective mental state triggered by extreme stress. Strasbourg in 1518 was a place of famine, poverty, and deep religious fear. In such an environment, some believe the townspeople entered a trance like state, their minds and bodies overwhelmed by tension. There's also the cultural element. Saint Vitus was believed to have the power to curse people with uncontrollable dancing. The belief itself may have been strong enough to turn suggestion into reality. The truth is, we still don't know for sure. Was it poison bread? Was it mass hysteria? Or was it something stranger? Something we don't yet have the science to explain. Whatever the cause, the summer of 1518 remains one of history's most bizarre medical mysteries. A reminder that the line between mind and body can blur in unexpected and sometimes deadly ways.